of the house we built. It's stronger than sticks on steel. It's not a replace sitting in a house on hill. A lot of things will come and go, but love never will. Oh, I'm proud of the house we built.
Welcome to the KM Builders Remodeling Design Show. Happy Saturday to you, and hope you're enjoying the beautiful day. And we are live at 737-1200. If you'd like to give us a call, we'll talk anything remodeling or construction, demolition, design, and architecture, of course. And we are KM Builders, and we are a design, build, architectural remodeling firm. And we started this show 14 years ago to try to answer questions and to try to help people from making a mistake. And we're going to talk a little bit about some of the things we've seen in the last week and some of the problems that we've seen, and just to kind of keep people from making those mistakes. But we're also going to be talking about Sola-Lite. And we have our friend Sean Bean, who's one of our value partners in the remodeling industry, who provides a wonderful product. They're a lot like us, a small company, family-owned business. And welcome to the show, Sean.
Thanks, Keith. Thanks for having me.
And we are going to have a talk with you about some of the cool things that you offer us, and all of you listeners can buy directly from Sean on Sola-Lite. And if you'd like to ask Sean a question about the Sola-Lite tubes, you know, the beautiful things that bring light into your home, and we'll give you some references where you can go to. Right now you can log on at Sola-Lite-Texas.com, and that's spelled S-O-L-A. Sola-Lite, almost like solar without the R, and then the light is like light beer from Miller, my favorite beer. Sola-Lite-Texas.com. So if you want to look there, you can see what we're talking about, and maybe even grab a few more questions that you might have while we're talking with Sean today. Again, 737-1200 is the number to call. If you want me to repeat anything like that, websites, talk to Sean about a question, or me, or Morgan. Morgan's here. Hi, Morgan.
Hi, everybody.
And she's got us live on YouTube and on Facebook.com. And if you go to Facebook, it's at KM Builders 1. And of course, it's at KM Builders on YouTube. So we appreciate all of you viewers and listeners, and we're looking forward to talking to you today about anything remodeling. Before I get started with you, Sean, I want to just mention something that we saw last week. We had a gentleman that had been taken advantage of, and I always like to talk about this on the air because people need to know how dangerous it is out there in this world of remodeling. I know you've probably seen it too, right? Have you met any horror stories in your time, Sean?
We have run into a few of them.
Yeah, it's sad. I know we all feel it. We had a listener call in who owned some materials yard, landscaping materials and so forth. He called in a few weeks ago when we were talking about unscrupulous contractors, how to protect yourself from crooked contractors. But yes, this last week was a heart-rending experience. A retired military vet who loved his country, loved Texas, loved San Antonio, was literally in tears, and we're trying to help him out. They ran off with $12,500. It was right before I went on vacation that I had another one where they took off with almost the exact same amount of money. Both of them. That seems to be like a good amount of money to feel comfortable on a project that's way more expensive. And they're, in both cases, they were pricing the project they were bidding. I don't know how they bid it, but anyway, the price that they bid it was less than half of what it should have sold for. And so the way that they can make money and sound really good is to take about $12,000 in both cases and walk away and never show up again after they do a little bit of work. And that's exactly what happened here in both cases. But yesterday, or actually it was, I think, Wednesday, it was just really sad. He gave me a big hug, and I gave him a tight hug too because I felt so bad for him. But it's really sad, and hopefully we can help him out. But and he does maybe have a way to collect that money, but most of the time, because he paid with credit cards, he might be able to get a little more out of this. But most of the time, it's a dead-end game, and they don't really ever have a chance of getting it back. Maybe they can do time. There's been some recent cases where they're going into jail now, and that's good to see. But I will be announcing the name of that contractor as I get more information. I don't want to do it too soon because I'm just getting one side of the story, but we'll definitely say the name of the company and the contractor on this station if I find out I can verify. So it's just really sad. I always ask if somebody's been taken advantage of. I always ask the name so that I can at least tell people privately, hey, talk to this person. They've had dealings with that contractor. And it doesn't mean that I want the work, right? Or that we even need the work. We just don't want people to get hurt. And that's one reason we do business with you, because we know that you are a reputable person, just like our other partners in the business, both vendors and subcontractors that we have a few of. We have usually about 4 or 5 that we do business with. But you're one of ours, and we will only recommend people like you and your father who take care of people and have good ethics. And so tell us a little bit about Sola-Lite before we go to the break. Just give me an introduction to that, and we'll take calls after that.
Great. Thanks for having me today, Keith. Yes, at Sola-Lite, we install natural daylighting systems called Sola-Tubes, as well as solar attic fans for attic ventilation. So the Sola-Tubes really bring natural light into dark areas of your home, and the solar-powered attic fans really protect your AC system that's often in your attic, and also lowering electricity bills through reducing that temperature in your attic.
Very good. So those two things we've used on many of our jobs over the years. And you don't just sell the product, correct?
Correct. We do sell the product directly to some roofers or contractors as well that desire to install that in some of their projects. But the majority of the time we install with residential homeowners, and so we supply the product as well as the installation. Right.
That's a turnkey service that we really appreciate, and I know we can sometimes do them ourselves, but it's really great to have you in there. And so you are a small family-owned business. Tell us about that.
Yeah, there's a family history of having small family businesses, and we purchased this business about a year ago, and it's been a great experience getting to work alongside a lot of great people inside the company, as well as my dad.
Right. Well, it's great that y'all, I know you have a good background in business with your father and your college education, and it's good to see a small family like that succeeding. And I know you've added value to this company since you bought it. So we're going to go ahead and talk about the details of what you offer, and we're going to take questions at 737-1200. We're going to take a little break. When we come back to the K & Builders Remodeling and Design Show. So far so good?
Yeah.
You sound great.
Thanks.
So we'll talk about some of the products that you have and what makes it unique.
Okay.
What you think stands out, and then we'll have a couple of comments and questions about that. Saturdays lately haven't been too many calls. Mm-hmm. It seems like once the weather broke that people are enjoying the outside, and they're probably riding along.
Yeah.
But it means nothing in our show to just have people listen, because we get so much response during the week from faithful listeners.
Yeah.
The guy that called me out, his name is Al. He was a very, very faithful listener. He had a high amount of trust for us in our company, just because of what he's heard on the radio show. So it doesn't mean anything if we don't get any calls, but we always like to get calls. Let's see where let's see if I can find the little. There it is. So it looks like we do have somebody just might have called in. I see it floating around here.
So 3 people are watching on Facebook right now.
Who's watching?
Nobody none of our friends, so that means
they're new friends.
New friends.
New friends. Hello, new friends. So we don't recognize your number too. So I wonder how many people have no idea what Sola-Tube is.
But there's quite a few.
Yeah. And
So for all
can't
of
you
our
do it in
listeners,
like?
You gotta practice your.
Oh yeah, you can
accent.
show them.
Yeah, Sola-Lite.
You can show them up
Sola-Lite.
closer, a little closer.
Can you see it?
Mom says she's watching.
She didn't count her as a friend?
Well, it just now showed her.
Oh, so she just got on.
Yeah. For some reason,
We've got two
I
colors,
see it
looks
now.
like.
Actually, it's in a weird place.
Okay.
That's why. Sorry, Mom. And so, can't you do it also in, like, second story? You can put it in the first story? I thought I heard that.
It's more challenging to do
Oh,
that.
okay.
Usually on a new building, you can spec it in from an architectural standpoint.
We'll
But
talk about that, yeah, that you could do it in new construction even on first floor below a second floor.
but typically it's gonna have to come through a closet or.
Uh-huh. Or if he is adding a second story,
Right.
you know, you could do that. That's cool.
If you're adding a second floor, you could do it because you'd leave room for it. And
Right.
Go ahead and create the tube space.
Right.
Mm-hmm. Like if they had an interior bathroom that they, you know, always struggled with putting their makeup on, no natural light, and
Yeah.
they're adding above.
That's one of the
You
things
could
with
do that.
natural light is
Yeah.
a lot of people put in their master bath. A lot of women like that for the makeup and then also closets, you know, like it's 100% color rendition. So like your navies look navy and your
Thank you
artificial
for mentioning that about color.
Yeah.
So that's something we're going to talk about.
Yeah,
So a
make
lot of
sure.
what we talk about too is granite countertops, cabinets. You see it under fluorescent, and you think it looks great, but when you put natural light to it, it really pulls out a lot of the, I think, the
Beautiful.
true colors that you don't normally get. And so that's where some of the uniqueness of it comes in. This has a solar panel in it that emits a little night light.
Yeah, we definitely want to get to that.
I guess a 30%.
We'll save that highlight. Let's save that highlight. Maximum light temperature. Okay, we're ready.
Do we got some cool music?
Ain't that America? You and me. Ain't that America? Something to see, baby. Ain't that America? Almost free, yeah. Little brick houses for you and me.
Thank you, Tracy. I'm loving it. That works for me. I hope it works for y'all. We are glad to be back. We're the KM Builders Remodeling and Design Show. I'm Keith Moehle, and we've been doing this for almost 14 years. It'll be 14 years in August. And now we have Morgan joining us every week, Morgan Moehle Roberts. And we have in the studio her handsome husband, my son-in-law, Jared Roberts. He's kind of helping us out a little bit here today. And moral support from Morgan and me. And then we have our special guest today, Sean Bean from Sola-Lite. And thank you for being on the show. And you ready to take questions?
Yes.
Okay, great. Well, you can call in live at 737-1200. Let's go ahead and take our first caller. And when you hit the button, I'll know which one was the first one there, Tracy. Nope. Line 2. Okay, that would be John. John, are you there? How are you, John? How can I help you?
Do the mics.
Advantage of by contractors. I'm also a contractor, and it bothers me when that happens to people. And I've been in those situations multiple times, bailing out a customer. This may not have nothing to do with the topic that you was flowing to, but I wanted to at least offer my service to that gentleman.
Well, that's fine. That's fine. Yeah, I don't mind you chiming in at all on that. What were your services?
Well, I'm a general contractor. We do everything from the ground up. Slab, framing, sheetrock tile, exterior siding, finish out the whole house.
Yeah, tell me what some of the nightmares you've heard, John.
I was doing a job for a lawyer there in Victoria. That's where I'm originally from, and she had a contractor come in there, and he of course did it all himself, all the electrical wiring. None of it was to code. So we come through there, and we had to take everything apart and get her fixed back up. And it was just a bad person for him to try to take advantage of, because she was a lawyer there in the community. So
That wasn't too smart, was it?
No, probably not perhaps too well for them, but like I said, I've done probably 10 or 12 projects like that for people, and you know, I mean, if you know the business, so when you go through a situation like that, and you help someone out, well, it has a lasting effect, and it really does help you out, you know, not just spiritually, but you know, in your business, because people really need people that they can trust and not take advantage of them.
Well, I can't agree with you more, and I do appreciate you echoing those comments. Thank you so much, and I do wish you well. That's what this show is about, is trying to get legitimate people, you know, illegitimate people out of this business if we can all help them to do it. So keep up the good work, John. We appreciate the call. Thank you. And let's go ahead and take our next caller. It says it's Al. That couldn't be Al that I met at the show. I mean, this week, would it? Al, are you there?
Is he on? Is he talking? You need to switch it.
Or went through borrowing money to fix my rental property, which is the source of income for me and my family. I can't work. I'm a disabled vet at this point, and was fully taken advantage. I know you don't want me to mention the company's name and the individual's name, so here I am with debt from the bank, who also will have to pay the interest on it as well, and no rental income, and fully taken advantage. It was around mid-November where we signed a contract. An individual brought me a big binder, several binders, several design paperwork to the property. I should have gone to his office, but I didn't. I never confirmed his location, but he met me at the property and was very, very, very professional type individual, acting and showing me the contract, and he signed for it, and all his designs and estimates. I have it in 41 pages in a beautiful binder. Charged me $16,200 for the whole remodeling of my property that I depend on. Well, he wanted every week or so, periodically, make a payment on a credit card. Thank God it was a credit card. I'm struggling to see if I can go through the credit card, get some of it back. But after making 30 payments, I am at the point of $12,500, correction, the $12,150 paid out of $16,1200. And the individual just ran off. They never show up to work.
Well, Al, I can't tell you how sorry we're to hear that. Go ahead. Say that again.
I'm so devastated with the whole situation. I am trying to, like I said, I try to exercise some options against the individual like that. I take that upon as a big responsibility. But in the meantime, the money is gone. The project has been sitting down on the ground for about 3 months. He made almost a damage of over $5,000. He didn't do it, but a demolition. But it's a sad story. I hope people listening can take advantage and understand that and then learn from it. I sure as heck learned a lot about it, and I am very depressed about it, and my entire family. So.
Well, Al, I know it took a lot for you to call me and to call this show, and I know that things will turn around for you, my friend, and I look forward to perhaps we can help you. And I know it's something that we hate to see, but you're taking steps forward, and you got to feel good about the steps you're taking. Perhaps this credit card thing will work out for you, where you can do it. I've seen it happen before, where it actually did work, and I know a lot of people are going to benefit from hearing your story. They're going to be just a little more cautious and perhaps make some more calls, make some more research, like you said. One of the things I'll go ahead and ask you before the news break is you said you should have looked at his office. You told me when I met you, I believe it was Wednesday, you said that you did go to his office afterward, and what did you find out then?
Yes, the 2 binders he provided on a different estimate and negotiation in 2 different times. He put two different addresses on it. So here I was about a month and a half ago, after a month and a half of him not showing up, attempted to go see him face to face. I walked to the offices with those addresses, and they looked at me, the owner of the property or those offices, which is a high-rise building. One is downtown, one is on the I-10. They looked at me like I was from another world. What am I talking about? There is no such individual living here, no office. He never lived or owned a property or an office there, and came to really find out those addresses were extremely phony. And I feel like I really dealt with someone totally scam and fraud at this point. So here I am. He doesn't return my calls at all either. So I'm stuck. I'm really stuck.
Okay, so that was bogus address, and he's not returning your calls anymore either, right?
Of course, his answering machine, because his voice is on it, he never returns my call, and those addresses were never his addresses. He just used them as one of the high-rises that are 10 or 20 different offices inside those, but none of them ever being his or are his. So there we are.
Okay, well, I know that, you know what, I think that is enough information for me to say his name. You told me his name was John Walker Kelly, and it was a Gentex painting, correct?
That's correct. John Kelly, with a beautiful picture of Gentex painting on the websites, online. It's glamorous when you look at it. It's extremely phony. Yes, that's who he is.
Okay, well, I'll give John a chance to call the show if he ever wants to, and he can tell us his side of the story. But at least everyone can know that if you're dealing with him, or you're thinking about dealing with him, at least ask some good questions and check out his address to see if he's got a valid address, which Al, again, I apologize, you know, just so sorry for the industry has so many of these people, so many of these crooks in there. We hear about it way too often. And we're praying for you, and hang in there. We're gonna try to work this out and get you some help, okay?
Thank you, sir, and God bless our great country. Appreciate it.
Thank you, John. You have a good weekend. Try to keep your chin up. And with that, we're gonna go ahead and go to our news break, and we are gonna take calls and possibly about the Sola-Tube that we have our friendly guest here, Sean Bean from Sola-Lite, and we'll be talking to him after we come back to the KM Builders Remodeling and Design Show. Sorry about that.
Yeah, no problem.
That was too good to let go. It's exactly, you know, one of the main purposes of this show is to get rid of the bad and the corrupt out there, and let people know there's another way to do business.
You got this number earlier in case y'all want it for follow-up.
Oh, I met him during the week.
Okay, cool.
Yeah, thank you. Oh, I forgot to do I'll do it at the beginning of the segment, my plug.
Yeah.
Has this been the intent of the show from the beginning, or has it kind of evolved over the years?
It was meant to be a straight talking advice and how to answer questions on the details of remodeling and the business, the contracts, the laws, the codes, and
Gotcha.
and the latest trends and great products, you know,
Yeah.
in it to keep it up to date,
Yeah.
so to speak.
Yeah.
Great question, by the way. What do you think of when you think of that? Is there anything that comes to mind on that, in that arena that you find interesting or need?
Yeah, no, I think it's great to be able to call in and ask an expert quick questions on what any projects that they're working on or working through. Because there's a lot of things, just like when you came out and looked at the roof and different things. There's the roof line, looking at a different pitch of having to go all the way back up, you know, just different things like that. I think it's great to have experts that you can quickly call in and talk to.
And I haven't forgot about you. There's a little bit of stuff I'm working out on how to separate those numbers I got from my roofer.
Yeah.
And I am like trying to make it more clean and it took me a couple weeks to get the numbers broken out from him.
Yeah.
And then when I got them back, I got swamped. So I'm still gonna get you those
It's
numbers.
no problem. But I think what's also great about a show is other people ask questions that you wouldn't even think to ask.
Yeah.
And it's like, oh man.
I'm glad you asked.
Yeah, you know, and so just being around handy people is you learn a lot. So
yeah, it's definitely evolved, and you know, some of the shows have just been so right on point with audiences. Some of the comments that we get are just incredible. Some of them are basic, you know, but people need those basic things, and some of them are repeat because they didn't hear the last show where we talked about that.
right.
And that's okay. I mean, and besides, how many times do you have to hear something for it to really sink in? I don't know. You know, it depends on the person, depends on how close they're paying attention, depends on how much knowledge they already have before. And so we do repeat some of the topics, and we try to present them in a different light for the faithful listeners who've heard it before.
Yeah.
But even they like hearing it again because it reinforces things for them.
Yep.
And I'm always asking for feedback from people, from guys like you on the show with me, or listeners. We get a lot of industry pros that listen to the show, and that's one thing I'm really proud of, is that the industry pros tell me I'm right on the money, because so they like listening because it's not an amateur talking about things that they really know very little about.
Right.
We talk about it, we get it right on, and we can back up what we say. We know the details in almost everything we discuss on the show. We know the details. And one of the things I wanted to do when I started the show was get rid of the vagueness, get rid of the general, and you know, this is how you talk about radiant barrier every show, and even when people are talking about, they're usually hawking their particular product.
Right.
And it doesn't matter what I sell or what I can sell anything to anybody, so I have no reason to say you should choose this over that. We're going to sell. We can merchandise any product.
Right.
But we want is what fits best for you and your particular need. That might be different if you live in a different house.
Right.
It may not be the same product.
Right.
You know, just like Sola-Lite. Solar tubes are not for every situation. People may want a bigger skylight.
Yeah.
But it certainly has an appropriate place in the industry.
Yep. Yeah, we've definitely found, Jared was asking me before, older homes that have added on, you see this quite often because they usually have a room in the middle that's dark. But also you kind of have the new builds that this energy efficient, energy environmentally conscious demographic that is really interested in that. So it is kind of interesting on two ends of the spectrum, the older demographic and the younger demographic.
It's really nice to catch both of those.
Yeah.
You know, remodeling, repair. You're in both areas. New construction. It's being spec'd more and more, I'm sure.
In the middle of our street, our house. In the middle of our house, it has a crown.
Welcome to the KM Builders Remodel and Design Show. We are in the studio live taking your calls at 737-1200, and I am joined by my lovely daughter and her husband, Jared and Morgan Roberts. We are also with our featured guest today, Sean Bean of Sola-Lite, and they tell us a little bit about what you do, what your product line is. Let's go ahead and get into the product line because I think it's a great product and we really like offering it to our clients. We're going to set up a display at our office, right, Sean?
Yes.
And that number live, if you'd like to talk to me or Sean, is 737-1200 and 1-800-383-WOAI, or again, that local number 737-1200. So tell us a little bit about that product line, what you think is some really cool things that people would like to know about your product.
Yeah, thanks. The solar tubes, we have two of them. We have a 10-inch and a 14-inch solar tube that a lot of older homes, we find people calling us in to really bring that natural light in. A lot of people will do a porch on the back side of their house or add on a master bedroom, and they're left with a living room or a space in the middle of their house that they desire more natural light. And this is a very cost-effective way for people to bring that natural light in. Most people are looking for new windows, and those can run in the range of $1,000 to $2,000. Skylights, as you well know, are $3,000 to $4,000, upwards of that.
Yeah, installed, because there's a lot of labor in those products.
Right. And these products we've really enjoyed offering. They're $699, $799 installed, and also come with a 30% tax credit. And so for those who are really looking to beautify, illuminate the beauty of their home that already exists, most of our clients, the kitchen is a great area that people usually spend a lot of time in. They're gathering, really illuminating the countertops that they've usually some natural stones that really pop with natural light, as well as just the paint colors and the wood grains on the cabinets is something that they spend a lot of money in, and this upgrade really just illuminates what they already have.
It really does. It's really hard to imagine how much bringing in natural light does for a room. And like you said, a kitchen is a great example because of the colors. There's so many more colors in the stones and the granites, the quartz stones, the backsplashes, the details of the wood grains and the cabinets or the paint. Even if you have a painted cabinet, the glazings, the true colors show. You spend a lot of time in showrooms when you're remodeling a home or building a home. You spend a lot of time in showrooms looking at whether something matches or pulls out that right color. Right. Then you go take it in the dark, basically, and then it's partially illuminated with artificial light. It's difficult to get that full color spectrum that you saw. A lot of times people are looking at granite, for example, or quartz in an outdoor setting, in a granite yard, a supplier's yard, and they get to see this dazzling color, or even shimmering color coming out on it. But it goes away when they put it in their house. It doesn't look as stunning because they're not getting that natural light. And so, I who have seen it know that it makes a huge difference in as far as color goes. But even just lighting up areas that very inexpensively too, I might add, that they are very, very energy efficient. Obviously, you're using solar technology for the daytime because it's just coming in and tell us how that works. It reflects it in a tube that reflects it all the way down, and it doesn't have to be straight down.
Right. So the two products are we call one of them a 160 and one a 290, which skylight terminology, you're looking at 160 square inches versus 290 square inches is where those numbers come from. And there's a dome that's on the roof that they have what the manufacturer calls ray bender technology, which they have kind of ribs along the dome that if you were to shine a laser pointer through it, if you think of a traditional skylight or window, laser pointer, it goes straight through. If you hit one of those ribs in the dome, it actually bends the light ray down into the tube, which allows it to emit the same amount of light as a 2x4 skylight. So a 14-inch is similar to what we call a 290, a 2x4 skylight. It's pulling in that same amount of light as a traditional skylight.
That's great. And so it's, even when the sunlight is like at a low angle or something, it's putting
Right.
more sunlight back into the hole, so to speak, right?
Correct. And there's patent on the mirrored tubing that brings it into those rooms. And so one of the things that we're able to do is we're able to put the dome, place it in a cosmetically appealing place on the roof, and then we're able to construct the tubing into the room that you would like that natural light in, versus a lot of skylight, it's got to go straight up and down. We have some flexibility on how we get that light to that room that you're desiring.
And that's very important too for us who are builders, because we don't want a skylight sitting in the wrong place to take away from either aesthetics or from waterproofing.
Right.
If you have to stick it, you'd like it, but right above you is what we call a valley or a hip or a ridge. That's not a good place for that to come out at. So you can bend that over, you can twist it over. You've got, but you're not really losing any light by doing that, are you?
No, you're not. It is less than 0.01% per linear foot run. We've done 40-foot runs, but traditionally on most homes we have probably 6 to 10 foot runs of tubing.
That's usually all you need, but anywhere over 30 feet is incredible. I mean,
Yep.
even over 20 feet is an incredible amount of distance. That's great. And I read that somewhere that it was like 99.7% specular reflectivity. That's an incredible number to bring all that light back in. Does that make it hot inside?
No, the way that the solar tube is designed, it's like a double pane window. You have it sealed off at the top as well as the bottom. And the way they manufacture it, they have the aluminum tubing, they have the glue, they have a black layer, and then the reflective layer. And so there's two parts of those rays. There's a light ray and a heat ray element of light, and that heat ray goes through the reflective and is emitted upwards, and the light ray continues to come down what's visible to the eye. And so if you were to put your hand on the bottom side of the solar tube, you would feel no heat transfer from the light.
Yeah, and so it uses the term, it rejects overpowering summer midday sunlight. What does that mean?
At the top of the tube that we talked about earlier with the ribs from the ray bender technology, at the top of the tube, the top of the dome, it actually reflects the light when it's the brightest, so it's not
too intense. Oh, that's pretty neat. I would have never thought that you would even need to do that, but that makes sense. If you got all this reflectivity and then you could start to get too much, they've solved that by catching it at the strongest point. That's when the light rays or that's when most of the color spectrum and the light rays go the farthest is at midday, right?
Right.
Yeah, so that's interesting. So, well, what's neat is whenever it's low and the sun is low and so forth, or the angle is not just the best for your house at all times of the day, you're capturing more of that through these ribs, reflective ribs.
And that's one thing when we have our sales team that'll come out and look at the home is they're from a roof perspective, from next to your perspective, where trees are on at your house block. Every home's a little bit different from where that sun comes up and comes down. So we try to really place that in the best place possible for that home, as well as same with rooms. You use your rooms in different ways, and so oftentimes someone would want one in the center of their kitchen, but the problem with that at times is you'll get shadows in the corners. So if you cut all of your food or vegetables in kind of the left corner of the kitchen, if it's in the center, you're going to get a shadow there. And so we normally split two smaller tubes out to be able to really cancel out some of the shadows that you get. So yeah, it's a fascinating product and really makes a huge difference in your home. I
can see it, and we've seen it. So when we come back to the break, we're going to talk about something else that you can do even for night that these things do, and a little bit about your solar-powered attic fans. And your website is Sola-Lite Texas, SOLALITE, Sola and LightTexas.com. So if anyone would like to look on there, they can go ahead and do that. And before we go to the break, I want to talk about my friends at Billy's Western Wear, where I'm headed to right after the show. I did want to mention it's a great time to get your boots before the rodeo. I'm going to get some chocolate ostrich, which is a very good price over at Billy's right now. When we come back, we're going to talk more with Sean Bean of Sola-Lite when we get back to the KM Builders Remodeling and Design Show.
Give me a chance, Will.
Give me a chance. Be by my side during meetings with lawyers and social workers so I
You
don't feel
approve,
lost and
Morgan? Everything going okay?
Mm-hmm.
volunteer to keep me safe.
So let's talk about that, the integrated solar electric technology.
Okay. Do y'all have allergies as a cedar?
We can't
Right
stop
now.
sneezing when our mouth's high.
Oh yeah.
Every year I'm getting more immune.
Yeah.
I have really done really well for the last several years. It doesn't get me too bad. Sometimes, like yesterday, I started getting a little itchiness in my eye, and that's really what's about what bothers me now.
Yeah.
I take nothing for it. I take nothing for allergies anymore. You?
Yeah, I've been. This is the first year where I felt like I had a little feather in my throat type deal, but that was about it.
How long have you lived here?
I've been in San Antonio since 2008, and then I've been out in Bernie for about 2 years.
2008, and you were where before?
Beaumont.
Beaumont. Probably a little, yeah. I'll tell you what,
Not
might
bad
be
on
speaking
the
too soon because it's high this year.
It's
It
really
got up
high
to
this year.
30,000.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I've always said that it's not a matter of if you're going to get a reaction to it, it's a matter of when and what pollen count
Right.
you react to.
Right.
Yeah. And
What's
which
the
type
normal
of pollen?
count?
It usually hits in the 20s.
Okay.
In the 20s, and it can go in the high teens to the 20s. But when it gets into the high 20s and the 30s, that's a little abnormally high, but it's not unusual. It's just above average. But we've had it as much as 65,000 parts per million in San Antonio. And back in the 80s, it was at 65,000.
Wow.
And I wouldn't doubt at all if there were places that had it in the 70s or 80,000, somewhere around. That's just where they took it. You know there's going to be a variation. But it almost everybody was miserable then.
Yeah.
It's crazy.
So y'all come into the station every Saturday?
Mm-hmm.
Unless we recorded it.
Yeah.
Like if we're on vacation.
40 seconds, guys.
So y'all will come in and record, or can you record?
We can.
it?
Mm-hmm. In the morning, during the week.
Yeah.
Mom says the high was 80,000.
Is that what I said?
You
Oh, I
said
said
70.
65?
Yeah.
Yeah, 65.
She said the high
Yeah,
was
it
80.
80,000 in the 80s. Thanks, Mom. Thanks, babe.
She keeps you
Keeping
straight.
us-
Yeah.
Keeping us straight, especially off air. She watches us
She's-
closely off air.
She's fact checking you.
Well, she watches the Facebook.
She watches.
She's not listening. She's watching.
House of
There
Noise.
is a house in your hands.
Welcome back to the KM Builders Remodeling and Design Show. This is Keith Moehle, and I am with Sean Bean and Morgan and Jared Roberts in the studio with us, helping us out, keeping things running, and Tracy doing the great jams there. It's been a nice change since Tracy got creative.
Got some new music.
He got creative, didn't he?
Mm-hmm.
And keep it up. And we got time for another call if you'd like at 737-1200. And we would like to go ahead and let Sean tell us a little bit about that cool feature of your Sola-Tubes that do a great job during the day, but they also do something cool at night. Tell me how that works.
So in each one of the Sola-Tubes comes with a solar-powered nightlight, integrated solar-powered nightlight. And what that does is during the day, it charges the batteries, and then it emits a moonlit glow in the evenings. And a lot of our customers love it for two reasons. One, it qualifies the product for a 30% tax credit. And also, many people in their kitchen, so in the evenings when you have to get out of bed and get in some water, you're not having to flip on the lights and wake yourself up. Often people with young children as well, in the hallways or in the bathrooms where they're getting up at night and need to use the restroom, they're able to find their way without having to turn on a bunch of lights and wake everybody up. So it's,
Yeah,
it's a
I don't
great
think-
little addition.
You know, if you saw this before and after in your home is going to be completely different by having something like this. You will feel so thrilled to have that little lit corridor, that little bathroom, that little area with your child maybe to be able to take a look at. The kitchen night light is perfect. You don't usually have any light emitting into your bedrooms from a kitchen, so that's a great place to have that night light on and never have to worry about turning on a switch. And some people are afraid of the boogeyman in the dark. This is a perfect solution. But those hallways get lit up during the day because they're already dark, but they're really dark at night, obviously, so why not keep it on at night?
And if you are watching on Facebook or YouTube, you can see a picture of it, what we're talking about.
You want me to show it?
Yeah.
Okay,
But y'all can keep talking.
here we go. Morgan's gonna show it to y'all, and the little generator, the solar generator is on that other page. Show them that little solar technology
here.
in there.
The-
And you can see it personally. If you'd like to come by our showroom, we'll have one for you to look at. Also, the solar powered attic fans are a great way to go. A lot of people their roofs do not allow for ridge venting, and the ridge venting is great, but if you can't get the ridge venting, if you don't have enough ridge, you can't do ridge venting. So that's called passive. Now these are not passive; they're actually electric, but they're battery powered electric based on solar cells.
There's no
There's no battery in these, though.
yeah, there's no electricity for these. These are all 100% solar powered.
Solar electricity.
Yep, you got it.
You don't have to plug anything in.
Yeah, and so the way that this was described to me, that I think is just a great description of this, is if you were to fill up your kitchen sink and clog it and fill it up with water and then you pull the drain, and it slowly gargles down, and you flip the disposal, and it really sucks that water out of your kitchen sink. This is the same way from a passive to active solar attic fan. And what this really does is, a lot of people have insulation in their attic, and their air ducts for the air conditioning it sits on top of that insulation. And around that ductwork is a very thin layer of insulation. And so when your attic is, especially in the summer down here, upwards of 120, 150 degrees, it really heats up that ducting, which causes that temperature, your air temperature, to get to your rooms at a warmer temp.
That's exactly right.
That your AC is having to work longer and harder. And so right now this is a great time to install it before it gets hot. These fans usually keep the attic temperature in between 20 to 25 degrees of the ambient temperature of what it is outside. So if it's 100 degrees, it's in that 120, 130 range, and really keeping that attic temperature cooler really protects the life of your AC, as well as lowers your electricity bill, because your AC isn't having to work as hard because that air is getting to your room at a cooler temperature.
Yeah, so what it does is, it does what other venting does, but it's a little more active, and it does what electric vents do without having to pay the electricity to keep your bills down, which is kind of ironic. You're having to pay electricity to keep from putting so much electricity usage in your house on your air conditioning system. It eliminates that solar oppression, which starts to build heat and push down into those insulation and those ducts that you were saying. Anytime you can get that fresh air coming back in, you're not going to have that what's called oppression, where the molecules literally start to expand because they're heating up, and they start pushing down into the insulation, which is what makes it ineffective now. So you really got a good product here. It's Energy Star rated, I believe, and drives out heat and moisture, by the way, out of your attic. And so if you'd like to have something that you didn't have to worry about it going bad, if you didn't want to have to worry about it checking the electrical connections or a breaker going out on it, then this is the way to go. Solar Star, solar powered attic fans. And do you do any radiant barrier with that?
We don't.
Okay.
We specifically just focus on the solar powered attic fan, as well as solar tubes.
Solar tubes. And the price on an attic fan?
$5.99, and
that's installed. And your solar tubes are $6.99 and $7.99 respectively, and that's installed also.
Correct. And all those products come with a 5-year labor warranty and a 10-year manufacturer warranty. And so this is one of the nuances, I think, why people like yourself and a lot of people allow us to do the install. Is no questions asked. Within 10 years, if we need to come out there, we will get on the roof, put a new one on, take the old one off, and no inconvenience to the customer of just taking that off and getting it done for them. A lot of people say, I can go to Home Depot or get a solar powered attic fan somewhere else, and it's inconvenient when you have to take it off yourself, leave a hole in your roof, and go take it to Home Depot. And so we take that concern or issue out of the way for our customers.
That is a very valid point, and of course, neither one of these products are really what we call an amateur or beginner type of install project. You really want to do it by professionals. So again, call Sean at Sola-Lite. His number is 210-764-7652, 764-7652, or you can call us at KM Builders. You can also look them up at Sola-Lite Texas, Sola-Lite-Texas.com. And we will talk again next week. We're going to be talking about cost versus value in remodeling. The new report from the Harvard University came out. We're going to be talking about that next week on the KM Builders Remodeling and Design Show. In the meantime, remember, you could have someone else design or remodel your home, but then you'd have to live in it.